A state investigation into Grace, a non-verbal young woman who spent 20 years in foster care, has said it cannot establish that marks and bruises on her body were the result of serious physical or sexual abuse. The Commission of Investigation, which took nearly 10 years, did make findings of neglect in her care, dental neglect, financial mismanagement or abuse, and an absence of oversight by officials meant to ensure her safety.
In February 2016, then Taoiseach Enda Kenny announced a commission of inquiry into the Grace foster abuse case. The Farrelly Commission was asked to investigate claims of serious sexual and physical abuse in one home in the southeast, and by a non-verbal woman with severe intellectual and physical disabilities, given the pseudonym Grace, was placed at the home for 20 years and not removed when 47 separate placements were ended in the mid-1990s. When the commission was eventually established in 2017, it promised swift answers within a year. Almost a decade later, and after repeated delays, its final report was published today. The Farrelly Commission report has cost €13.6 million and runs to almost 2,000 pages. It said it cannot establish evidence of physical and sexual abuse, but did say there was neglect, financial abuse and an absence of oversight in Grace's placement.
So absolutely there are questions to be answered there, and that is why I think it is worthwhile that the Commission is very clear in saying that there was no appropriate oversight of Grace and within her placement, and obviously those questions will have to be answered by the HSE.
The Farrelly Commission also decided against conducting a planned second phase investigation into separate issues involving 47 other children placed at the home.
I did ask that everybody who was involved in this commission in providing evidence or had some engagement with the commission, that they would be informed of my intention to publish today. I made that request of the commission, but the commission were not in a position to accept my request.
Minister Foley confirmed today that while she asked for families involved to be told of this decision, they were not. Opposition today criticised the report for failing to find answers.
I am deeply, deeply shocked and deeply disappointed at what appears to me to be a lengthy report with no answers in it, and certainly with no accountability for Grace or for the others. I feel that Grace and the others are being let down all over again.
Almost a decade after the Farrelly Commission began, questions are still being asked. Fia Crokiana, RTE News, Leinster House.
Well, for more on this, we're joined by our social affairs correspondent, Alva Keneally. Alva, there have been a number of reports and investigations into the care of vulnerable people in the state in recent years. Ultimately, what has changed?
Yeah, well, I did a ring around actually before we came on air just to talk to various groups that work with vulnerable children and adults, and I had that question. Now, the first reaction they had for me was that they felt, why did the inquiry take so long? That seemed to be across the board. But also the overall view appears to be that there hasn't been enough change since the Grace case, and that they're worried about vulnerable people even today. Now, the reason they say that is because, yes, the Minister for Children, Norma Foley, she pointed out that there is policy and legislation that has been introduced in the last number of years to safeguard children. But those I spoke to would argue, well, there are very vulnerable children in emergency IPAS centres. There are vulnerable children in residential emergency settings. And the other thing that was pointed out as well, that is some foster parents feel that they're almost abandoned by the state when they take on children, and that's problematic even today. Now, when it comes to adult safeguarding, we have had the Brandon report, we have had the Emily report, vulnerable people abused in residential facilities. Now, the previous government dragged its heels on adult safeguarding legislation. I got a call there from the Department of Health who said this evening that policy proposals regarding adult safeguarding legislation to safeguard people, vulnerable people in these settings would be coming before the government in the coming months. So there's a lot of work done, a lot more to do. That Farrelly report is a huge report. People are still working through it, but the HSE did issue a statement before coming on air there, just fully accepting the findings of the Commission. And again, it apologised to Grace for the failure of the former Health Board and the HSE in relation to the care provided to her.
OK, Alva Keneally, social affairs correspondent. Thank you for that.